We need to work on our marriage. So it's good to be around couples, but it's also good that we're able to work out things in our marriages as husband and wife. But today, I would like to start off with just taking a step back, one more step back, and talk to you about you as a person, and about because what we bring into our marriage depends a lot on who we are. And I think Pastor Paulo shared that yesterday. And so I would like us to take a step back. And okay, this is not just about my wife or my spouse. This is about me. And this is not just about me, but this is about me and God. And so I would like to just start off with that. Our thing is I still do. And basically, that is obviously that's a spin-off of our wedding vows. If our wedding vow, our response was I do. How many of you still remember your wedding vows? Okay. How many of you can still recite your marriage vows? How many of you Googled your marriage vows? Alright, I did. Well, I didn't have Google then. We didn't have Google then, but I just repeated what the minister said. But we're gonna go back to when we said I do. Alright, and my wife will talk about I still do. Okay, it came from I do, and what you were saying when you responded with I do was the promise to love and to cherish your spouse. You made a promise. Remember? This is not just your kids asking you, remember you promised? But you need to ask each other and say, you promised me something, remember? And so, when we say I do, I want to bring us back and we're going to talk about Genesis chapter 2. And maybe because you want to say you said I do to each other, because when you said I do to one another, you were excited about the journey that you're about to embark in. 1984, when we started our journey as husband and wife. And I said I do, and we said I do's to one another, because we were just excited. We were young, but clueless about what we're getting ourselves into. But nevertheless, we were excited. How many of you are excited about when you started your marriage? Okay, this is not a trick question. Alright, so it's okay. You were excited. Maybe it was when you said I do, part of an old chapter. You were single, and now you're about to enter a new chapter in your marriage, and you said I do, okay? Then also maybe the firm resolve inside of you. That yes, I say I do because I'm gonna pour my life into this. I'm committed to this. There's no sign that says fire exit to this marriage. We're gonna stick it out. We're gonna be in this forever. And there's no sign that says in case of fire, break gas. There's no ifs, there's no buts. I'm gonna be in this marriage forever. So I want to take us back to an episode in Genesis chapter 2. And that particular episode in chapter 2, there was an ending. And it was a happy ending. How many of you would like happy endings? Or like happy endings? I like happy endings. That's why I never liked that movie, last movie, La La Land. How many of you watched La La Land? How many of you didn't like La La Land? I didn't like the ending of that La La Land. Okay, those who didn't watch it, I'm sorry, but that's your fault. But I didn't like it. I like the ending of The Notebook. How many of you like The Notebook? Why? Because it was happy. It was sad because they died. But they were still together. And that was, for me, that was romantic. So we all like happy endings and we want our marriages to eventually, the end of our lives, we're going to say, wow, I still do. Now, Genesis chapter 2 was the story of Adam and Eve. Alright? We're all familiar with that. At the end of that particular episode, God created Adam and Eve, and eventually, that particular episode, this was the ending. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 23, it says, this is what it says. Alright? You have that? Alright, Genesis, it says, then the man said, this at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman, for because she was taken out of the man. And there was a realization in the part of Adam. He said, is it? Maybe this, when you gave your I-do's to each other, you said to one another, this is it. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. Alright? And not only did it end there, in verse 25, it says, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife. Because there was a realization, there was an excitement, I'm going to be in this forever. The next thing, obviously, Adam and Eve didn't have parents, but it showed us a pattern. Adam took his wife, and they cleaved to one another. Not only did they leave their parents, there was an intention to be away from everyone, just to be able to start their life together. But not only that, but they cleaved to one another. There was intimacy, there was closeness, there was companionship, there was friendship. That was a picture of a wedding day. And not only that, the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. So what a beautiful, happy ending, wasn't it? Now, you look at that and you say, all right, how in the world did they get or did they experience a happy ending? And I want that also for my marriage. I want my marriage to have the same kind of ending, just like The Notebook. I don't want La La Land, because that's only in Hollywood. I don't want my marriage to end up like Adam and Eve. So, how do we get there? How do we get to a place where we cleave to one another, where we become really intimate? And I hope that your best friend is your spouse. Can you look at your spouse and say, you are my best friend? Talaga bang best friend mo siya? Alright? Do you really want to be with your spouse? Do you really like being with your spouse? Yeah. Really? Okay, we're gonna lock you into your room for the next 24 hours. Di kayo lalabas. Now, my pattern was a different pattern. Your pattern, if we look at the pattern of Adam and Eve, it showed us a pattern, or there was a pattern that we're going to talk about. But as I look at the story of Adam and Eve, my pattern alright. Okay, so this is better. No? This is not better? That's better? Alright. Pasensya na kayo, this is not our permanent venue. That's why we're always tweaking. It's hard to configure all of this. So, palakpakan naman natin these people who's really working hard and just trying to make this thing work. Alright, which one should I use? This one. So, our pattern, my wife and I, we told you, our pattern was this. The boy meets girl, and my wife and I met when we were still in high school. Alright? Part of our story, I was 2 years older or ahead of my wife, and I was in my last year, I think, in high school, when my wife saw me in school. By the way, we have a boys department and a girls department from the school we came from. So there's a church right in the middle. So there's a demarcation line. You cannot cross that line, or else the priests and the nuns are there watching that line closely. And so we never really interacted with one another. When my wife saw me my last year in high school, this is galing sa kanya to. This is from according to her. Okay, this is not me. So, modesty aside, when my wife saw me, she said, "That guy will be my husband." Again, I was still young. I wasn't thinking about marriage. But for my wife, no, she wasn't thinking about marriage. She just saw something, and I think it was an epiphany. It was, but anyway, we reconnected 2 years later, after college, after high school, and our pattern was the boy meets the girl, and then the boy likes the girl, okay, just like our story, just like most of your stories. Then the boy likes the girl right now, and the boy and the girl got married, and the boy and the girl had their first child 5 months after they got married, and they had a full-term baby. So you connect the dots, and it tells you our pattern. Alright? So, that was normally the pattern, but today I want to show you a pattern according to Genesis 2. That's why I'm asking you to step back. We're going to step back. Yes, we want that happy ending, but how can we have that happy ending? Alright? So, Genesis chapter 2, we want to start with this, verse 4 to 14. Well, from verse 4 to 6. Here's what we see from Genesis chapter 2. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Verse 5. When no bush of the field was yet in the land, and no small plant of the field had yet sprung up, for the Lord had not caused it to rain on the land, and there was no man to work the land. That means God was by himself. And it's important that we see that the beginning of the pattern was God. He was by himself, and he was able to sustain the whole of creation. And it's important that we begin there, that we see who God is in this journey. Because if we fail there, or we're going to hit some bumps and humps along the way. And it's important that we know God, and we know that the God in our marriage was by himself in the first part of this journey. And he was able to sustain everything. Alright? And it says, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the land, and there was no man to work there, and a mist going up from the land and was watering the whole face of the land, of the ground. So remember that. God was by himself. The whole creation was able to sustain itself because God was there. Alright? Then in verse 7, then the Lord God formed a man of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Alright? So if we're going to look at the pattern, the first part of the pattern was this: that God created Adam, and not only did He create Adam physically, but He breathed into him His very life, His very nature. He breathed into him, to Adam, the Zoe life. It's not physical life, it's not bios, it is the quality of life. God Himself put Himself in us. And you've got to see yourself that way. Alright? Again, we're showing you a pattern. The first thing, in verse 8, it says, "And the Lord God planted a garden in Eden and in the east, and there He put the man whom He had formed." So, if we're looking at a pattern that would end up with a happy ending, we had to step back and see what happened first. And what happened first was God gave Adam Himself. Alright? So the first thing is God's presence. We have to step back and say, we got to ask ourselves, God, if I'm going to have a marriage that would be truly satisfying and rewarding and worth passing on to the next generation, then I need to start where it should start. And that is, it started with just God and Adam. There was no Eve in the picture. That doesn't mean that women are afterthoughts as far as God is concerned. No, it's just showing us a pattern, what is important. And what is important is that God gave Himself to Adam. And not only did He give Himself to Adam, but in all of creation, okay, imagine this, He created the heavens and the earth. He didn't stop there. He created a garden. And in that garden, He put the man. And I was thinking about that. Lord, why? Would that not be enough? Would the whole creation not enough? And why do you think God had to create a garden? And why did He put the man in the garden? Alright? Well, it shows us two things. It shows us God's heart. And God's heart is for us, for Adam to know God. And that is so important. That before we even talk about marriage, it's important that individually, that we can truly say that, yes, God, I know You. I'm still getting to know You, which I think our lifetime will never be enough to get to know God, and that's the great thing about eternity, is that we have the rest of eternity to get to know God more. But in this point in our journey, it's important to ask ourselves, do I really know God? Or do I just know about Him? It was necessary for God to create a garden and to put Adam there, because God's intention for Adam was, Adam, I want you to know Me. There was no Eve. There was no marriage in the picture. It was just God and Adam. You know, and not only did God create Adam, because God wants Adam to know Him, but actually the garden was not for God, because God knew where Adam would be. Even if Adam, wander away from the garden, God still knows. But it wasn't for Adam. It wasn't for God. The garden was created for Adam. God created Adam so that he'll get to know God. That he'll get to enjoy God. That he'll get to a place where I'm going to walk with God in this garden, and I want to know God, and I want God to know me, and of course God knew us before we were born. But for Adam to know God, Unfortunately, in marriage, we jump right away to the Eve part. But we need to step back and say, wait a minute, I need to go back to God. You know, Red Garden is a special place where Adam got to know God. And in life, we need to have our gardens. And in that garden, Eve was not there. In our individual gardens, where we walk with God, that's a place that your spouse cannot follow you. That's a place that your spouse cannot be there for you. I remember when we first moved to the States 10 years ago, we were part of a team here in the Philippines, and we were part of a team that planted a church in Orlando, Florida. And we were excited, said, all right, this is our, everything that we learned here, we're going to do there, we're going to do couples retreats, we're going to do parenting seminars, I'm going to preach to the other, cultures. So we were excited. But when we got there, one of the things that was assigned to me, okay, which at that point in my life, I thought, I became a children's pastor. And there's nothing wrong. That's how I started in the ministry. But that was 20 years before that. But 20 years later, they asked me if I could be the children's pastor. And I was like, in my mind, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this. And to top it all, we met in a school every Sunday. We do tear down and set up every Sunday. And my job is to prepare the classrooms for children's church. And what I needed to do was to clear 4 classrooms in a school, clear them from all tiers, move them to the other room, bring all the toys, the playpens, the cribs, the toys from a mezzanine on the church, and you have to bring it down to a spiral stair and bring it all. And I remember I would go to my wife and I would complain. I would tell her, I didn't fly 10,000 miles to Orlando, Florida to do this. I was telling my wife, this is not for me. Every Sunday I had to go there by myself and set up the 4 classrooms. Every Sunday I would regret it. I would say, this is not for me. I'm here to preach to multitudes and do crusades. No, not crusades. And I would rant, I would complain to my wife. But as days pass, weeks pass, that Saturday morning setup became my garden. It became my garden because that's where God met me. Met me in my complaining, met me in my brokenness, met me in my desire to be famous and to be significant. And in short, it exposed a lot of my brokenness. But also, I would dread that Saturdays, but it ended up the highest, or the highlight of my week. Because that was a time where this time I need to go back to my garden. And it's just going to be me and God. The whole time, the whole morning, I'm just going to talk with God. And you know what? That's a place that I got to know God. And I really enjoyed God, among other places. That was one of my gardens in my life. And I thank God that God created a garden for me to really get to know Him, because my complaining, no matter how much complaints I give to my wife just, I don't know what to do. But you know what? That's a place that God met me. So, we're talking about marriage, but before we even talk about marriage, we gotta step back and ask, how am I with God? Do I really know God? Do I really love to be with God? Because if you're filled with God, you will always, if you are abundantly filled up by God, by His love, then you will spontaneously overflow to your spouse. And that's where we need to begin. Marriage, us, we're only a resource of God's love. Love comes from God, not from us. And if we're filled up by God, then there will always be something that we can overflow. And unfortunately, marriages fail and run short and die because they're drawing from their own well, trying to give to their spouse. But how many of you, after being married for quite some time now, you know that you can only give so much to your spouse? No matter how much we try, our garden is a place that our spouse cannot go. It's just God. I remember, again, we told you we're empty nesters. And my wife has her own. When we were in the States, we rented a house. And in that house, there was a small little walk-in closet. And it was probably the size of 4 blocks of this, tiles. It was small. And I remember my wife would always, she has her little step stool and she's surrounded by her clothes. Armani, Gucci, all the clothes. Now, this clothes mentor. Anyway, resale shop. Resale shop. Anyway, she would sit there and she would just, whenever I would wake up, she was already there in her closet. And I would hear music. I would hear her cry. And you know what? That was her garden. And that's a place that I cannot, no matter how much I want to be. She wants to be with God, by herself. And you know what? We moved here last January. We left our children and our 3-month-old grandson at that time. And every morning, we would do FaceTime with our son, together with his son, my grandchild. And every morning, sometimes I would see my wife early in the morning. I would see her in one corner of our little condominium and she would look at the pictures. As she looked at the pictures, I see that face of, I miss her. Sometimes I would watch her and I would see her curling her hair. And she would walk by herself, Siska, Ibarra, Christine, where are you? I said, hon, they're not Christine and Ibarra. John, Joseph, Matthew, anak natin. But anyway, you know what? No matter how much I try to console her, you know what, hon? I know you miss our children. Here's 50,000. You go shopping.
Wow.
You know. Kulang ba? Ito mo, 100,000. Go shopping. I wish. But you know what? When we do that, even if I try to cheer her up, treat her for a good, nice lunch, I can only take her to a certain point. And that's the place where we need to find our garden. We need to find who God is. How much, and that's what God did. He created Adam, and He put him in the garden. So that not for God, but for Adam. We all need that garden. Where we can be alone with God. Where we can give to God all our dreams and also our frustrations, our fears, our disappointments. Because our spouse is only a limited resource.